The temperature in this area just went up like 10 degrees.
Yeah. So yesterday I mentioned doing a Q&A. I'm gonna get you guys out of here because sometimes when we do a Q&A, then everybody winds up having to sit around for a long time. But I'm gonna stay here for a little while after we close it out in a couple minutes. If you guys have any questions, by all means come and talk to me and I'll be happy to answer them for you, okay? Couple quick housekeeping things. June 7th, weekend of June 7th, I'll be back here at SBG Idaho for a full weekend, and I'll be able to go more in depth in the turtle curriculum and whatever else they want to work on, so I'll see you then. Weekend of June 28th is ladies camp in Texas. The last one in Vancouver had more students than our fall camp did. It was the first time that's ever happened, so more than 100 women at that one. So that's cool to see. And then weekend of October 25th, as Travis and I already mentioned, we'll be doing fall camp again at Ricky's beautiful gym in Bozeman, Montana. That'll be fun, so set your calendar for that. I will stay after if you have any questions. Also, don't ever hesitate to email me. Some people send me messages on social media. That's a bit iffy. I didn't discover that you could get messages on Instagram until like 2 months ago, and I had 997 of them. So if I didn't respond, I didn't know they existed. But I do check my email. And you can always come visit our gyms in Vancouver, Portland, or where we never charge, of course, other people from other SBG to come train, and you're welcome to come train anytime. If you're a coach, my favorite part of this job, and I think the most important thing I do, is coaching coaches. So by all means, certainly reach out to me about that. And that's the last thing I wanted to end on is I've been talking a lot this last year with some of the older senior SBG coaches. And I really want to dial in everybody being on the same page about our methodology, because that is really what sets SBG apart, right? We're not an organization that's revolves around a competitor. We're a team. We're an organization that revolves around a set of shared principles and a thing that we do. And that's also what makes it unique. So if you're not using that, you're missing out, because you're basically doing what everybody else is doing. There's 10,001 jiu-jitsu schools now out there in the world. The vast majority, not all of them, the vast majority, the instructor teaches a series of techniques. It's usually their game, what they do, right? Bunch of techniques, rarely ever even fundamental. And then everybody practices drill the technique, and by drill they just mean repeating it over and over again without any resistance, and that's not what we mean when we say drill. And then they roll with each other and try and kill each other in a very kind of hostile environment. And if you have enough people flow into that, if you've got lots and lots of students, yeah, you'll produce a Brazilian champion in LA or whatever, but in spite of the training methods, not because of it. That's not what we do, right? What we do, the way we train everybody on the mat gets better because the training method works, right? And there's basically three parts to this that I've talked about before, but you need three things for it. First, you need a community of people, you need a tribe. That goes without saying. That's the thing we guard the most, the gym owners, the culture. And that's people that you feel comfortable being physically vulnerable with, because you can't get good at jiu-jitsu without that. You have to feel safe, right? So that's the first thing. You guys have that, we have that. You can feel that when you come to camp. That's the socialization part of camp, getting to roll with other coaches and other people from other SBG gyms, because our standard is the one that matters. Honestly, when you guys compete locally, I expect you to medal, right? It's within the organization where you're gonna, unless you go down to LA to the Worlds or the Pan Ams, within the organization where you're gonna have the most game, and that's where it matters. Like our purple belts, our brown belts, right? The other piece you need a technology. You can use different words. Technology, curriculum, information, that has to be there, right? That, absent that, is just monkeys typing on a typewriter, as Coach Paul said. If you got a room of 100 people and no one knew jiu-jitsu, and you put them through drills, they're not going to reinvent jiu-jitsu at the level that we have it. They're not. Someone in that room needs to be there that has the knowledge and the information that can either guide, I don't care how you do it, you can guide them towards the fundamental, you can create drills where they discover the fundamental, or you can just old-fashioned show it to them real quick and save them a bunch of time, and then pass that information on. But that is why, passing that information on is why every generation gets better than the one that came before. And my black belt should be better than me, and your black belt should be better than you. because they're building on the knowledge that we have, right? I get to build on the knowledge of my coaches, right? No, I'll just use an example that we're all familiar with, Hickson. No, Hickson didn't get jiu-jitsu from God or the 10 Commandments. He discovered it in a live environment. But do we really want to go back to the pre-Hickson discoveries and have to discover his discoveries all over again? That doesn't make any sense. I want to start with his discoveries and then build on that and go from there. That's the information, okay? That's a necessary component. It's important. And we only have so much time. So I want to give you only the information I think you absolutely need to know, right? The less, the better, because I want to focus on the drilling, because the drilling is the skill acquisition part, which we'll talk about in a second, right? The more I understand the art, the deeper I understand the art, or you understand the art, the better you are at discriminating what information is important and what isn't, and what to teach and what not to teach, what's truly a fundamental and what's not. And a lot of people have a hard time with that, right? Most Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructors around the world have no idea what a true fundamental is, and even within the organization, most black belts struggle with it, okay? There's a handful, and the reason isn't, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just when I was a black belt 24 years ago, I had been doing jiu-jitsu for about a decade. And I had already been teaching for full-time for a decade, traveled around the world giving seminars, coached competitors at a pretty high level. I thought I understood jiu-jitsu, right? Looking back on myself as a young black belt 25 years ago, I had no idea about jiu-jitsu. I could rewind 10 years ago, I was a 3-stripe black belt, and I thought I had a pretty good understanding of the depth of jiu-jitsu. Looking back on my understanding 10 years ago now, from the position where I'm at now, I had no idea, right? And I'm not talking about breadth, like scale of information, more information, not about more information. I'm talking about depth. The fundamentals of jiu-jitsu or wrestling, they run deep, and it takes a long time to learn, and you gotta respect that. And speaking of what we're, the camp theme of honesty, you gotta be humble about that. If you're a young black belt or brown belt or purple belt, you don't understand jiu-jitsu yet, right? But you can, and you will, by investing more time and thinking about it, and trying to get that information down to as little as possible, but no less, so that we can save our students time. Because time is the most precious thing you guys, second most precious thing you guys have, right? And I have to respect that. So that's one piece. Community, tribe, information, technology, curriculum, however you want to phrase it. And then the third piece, the third part of that triangle is the training method, the epistemology, the answer-seeking method. That is by far the most important piece, okay? Because absent that, you can't acquire the skill. You acquire the skill during the alive drilling. That's where timing comes in. So if you had a group of people go train with, let's say, Hickson in his prime, and Hickson showed them jiu-jitsu, and they saw it, and then they practiced it together without any resistance, and then they went home, and they did that for 3 years. And you have another group of people, no one in the room knows anything about jiu-jitsu, but they start doing rounds inside closed guard, out, one side pass, one side hold crossing. They have no idea what they're doing, but they're drilling a lot, right? And then you have the two meet. These guys over here who knew fuck all about jiu-jitsu, they're gonna crush these guys over here who've never trained a lot. So yes, aliveness is the absolute most important thing. Without it, it all falls apart. But it's not, it's a false dichotomy. We don't need either or, right? You know what's better than that? Both. What's better than that is somebody that has a very deep understanding of the fundamentals can pare it down to just what is really essential for you, deeper than you have anyway, right? And then hand it to you, and then as quickly as possible, put it into a drill format so you guys can start developing real skill. And at the end of the day, all of you will do it a little bit different, as you should, but underlying that, the structure underneath, the foundation of it will be the same, those same fundamental principles, right? And then it comes time, your time to teach, and the lazy, common thing to do, teach your game. Teach what you do, in which case you shortchange your students of going through that process that what you went through. Instead, it doesn't matter what you do. Go back to just bare fundamentals. Do I absolutely need to teach this? No. What do I absolutely need to teach? And then create a drill, right? Make sense? And you need all three. One of the problems that arises is in a seminar format like this, if you only come to camp or you've ever trained with me at a seminar, you would think I do way more introduction, way more information and technology than I do isolation, because I'm trying to give you guys a curriculum. So when I come here in June, I'm trying to give you guys a curriculum for turtles. So I still will have you drill, because I would not be able to sleep at night if I didn't have you drill, right? It's probably one of the few seminars where you will drill. And you'll maybe drill 30–40% of the time, but I'm quickly giving you information like I did in my class today at the seminar. But the point is, you guys now take that, you take 2% of what I did that weekend, 5% of what at most, 1 or 2 things, you teach that in the class, a regular group class, and the rest of the time you drill. So in my group classes, if you come take a group class with me in Portland, and my class is an hour and a half in Portland, you're not gonna, if you added up the amount of time I talked, it would be 15 minutes at most, right? The other hour and 15 minutes is drilling. You don't see it on SBGU, we usually cut that part out, but that's where the students are learning, right? And if I mess with that, if I just wind up showing a lot of stuff, then it's just my ego, it's about me, thinking people want it, right? But I'm not giving students that opportunity to actually learn and grow. So the most powerful combination is all of it. Good group of people that are cool and you feel safe training with, the best, most efficient technology that we know at the moment, and then this training method, and the majority of our time during regular classes being spent on the alive drilling. And then you can get good fast. Anybody can get good fast, right? And speaking of the humility part, like, there is no absolute ideal in terms of the curriculum. One of the jobs I feel I have, and the other head coaches have, is to keep to understand the mechanics of jiu-jitsu and keep an eye out for a better way to do it, right? One example was headlock escapes. We all know headlock escapes. I've been doing headlock escapes for 25 years, successfully, had my students do it successfully. My performance was fine, right? I was achieving my goal. And then Hickson came and trained with me in Portland, for whatever it was, 5 years ago. Showed me a detail on headlock escapes I had not seen before, structural detail, important detail, detail that made it much, much better than I had been doing before. I never come up with it. I train with hundreds of black belts. I never seen anybody else do it. None of us ever found it. He showed it to me. Guess what happened? I instantly changed the way I do headlock escapes, and then I pass it on to my students. Now my students have a better starting point. They have that starting point. Do I think that's the end all? No. It's possible. Mike Sweeney or whoever, it doesn't matter who it is, shows me a better, more structural, foundational way to do whatever it is, I'm gonna adopt it. I'm gonna instantly adopt it. So one of my jobs is to be on the lookout for that technology. And that technology does matter, right? It does absolutely matter. But in terms of your time, the vast majority of your time should be spent doing the alive drill. It's not about accumulating that technology, right? It's about doing the alive drilling and developing your style. And it's really important everybody understands that, because I know a lot of times people just train with me in seminars, that gets misunderstood. You can go too far one way or the other. There's no way you're gonna get people good without some level of having that information in the room. There needs to be a black belt there, right? 100 people that don't know anything about jiu-jitsu come into a room and then start training drills, they're gonna suck at jiu-jitsu a year later, right? You have a black belt there that knows how to guide those drills towards proper fundamentals, they're gonna be pretty good. So the information is important. But in terms of time, it's aliveness. That's where your time needs to be spent, right? Anybody can do that. There are two big problems, I think, that people struggle with. One is that understanding what is a fundamental. And so if you're a coach or even a student, you should put your mind to thinking about that. Like, ask yourself, is this something I absolutely need, everybody needs to know? Is this something that everybody's probably gonna do? Is this something that will work in a fight? If somebody's punching you in the face, will it not work? It's not a fundamental if it falls apart the moment somebody punches you in the face. This is, after all, about fighting, right? And they're gonna be based around the things that Coach Paul was talking about. Base, posture, connection, that kind of stuff. They're gonna be universal. But you wanna be one of those people that understands that, because then you can help guide that never-ending journey to try and find more and more efficient ways to do things that we can pass on to our students. And that's part of our job. That's what you pay me for, right? You trust that when I come in and give you a seminar or teach a class, I'm showing you the best information I have available at the moment. And I 100% am, because our incentives align. And if I find a better way to do it, you can bet I'll change it and I'll immediately show you, right? Because we're the same team. That's what I want. And then the other thing is not understanding the value and importance of a live drilling and not spending enough time on live drilling. And it's really, really important that we get that part across. In a foundations class, yeah, for a very limited amount of time, a month, month and a half, 2 months, it's going to be a lot more technique and really controlled small drilling, because we're dealing with people sometimes that haven't done anything athletic for like 10 years, right? They get sore one day and they drive home and they think they caught a disease and they're going to stop coming to the gym. We're building them up to come into the regular class. 20 years ago, my way of bringing people into the gym was, oh, you want to sign up for the gym? Okay, cool, come take a class. And you jump in the class and with everyone else, which was mostly all 20-something dudes with no shirts on, trying to kill each other on the mat. You survive in that environment, great, and you keep training. You do not survive in that environment, okay, that's like my retention rate was probably my 50% of the people that signed up probably quit. That's easy to do, and I was making strong people stronger, but that's not good coaching, right? The people that needed jiu-jitsu the most were getting weeded out. Now we're building them up, but that's a tiny period of time. And once you get out of that, and you come into the regular group class, the vast majority, or a competition team practice even more so, the vast majority of that should be spent on a live drill, right? That's where you learn. And so the better I understand jiu-jitsu, the simpler I can make the curriculum, the less I can teach, the less I can show, the more you can drill, right? I only want to tell you the stuff that's most important. So by way of being a good coach and doing the best we can for our students and advancing yourself in the art and using the SBG methodology, focus and think about those two things, okay? Think about what you're teaching. Is this really the best thing that the most important thing these people could be spending their time on right now? Is this really a fundamental? And remember not to shortchange them on the drilling. Do that drilling. And if you have that 3-step process, I believe that is the single best way to train. If I thought there was a better way to train or a better way to get people good, I would do it. I don't think that. That's why we do it this way. And the beautiful thing about that is I think we got it right like 30 years ago, okay? And that's a good thing. So anyway, I just wanted to leave you guys with that. That wasn't me lecturing at you. That's just me talking in general. I want you guys to think about that as you go home, especially if you're coaches, because that's really what sets us apart as an organization, right? That sets us apart. And it's a powerful combination. Really good technology with that proper training method. You can get good. You can get people good very quick. And that's even people that aren't athletic. And that, that's a lot of job satisfaction in that, right? All right, so I'm going to stick around. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out or online or whatever. I'll be here. Otherwise, I'm going to look forward to seeing you at those events in the future, okay? Thank you very much.